I thought I was done with my last video for the day, and then I saw this video pop up in my news feed saying that the FBI is going to open an investigation on this Lorain County incident where these jailers allegedly, yeah, right, we got video evidence, I don't even know why they say this, allegedly paralyzed this guy. Watch this, and keep in mind, this could happen to anybody. This could happen to you. This could happen to me. This could happen instantly. We could be raided by the FBI or by the local police for literally no reason. They could have a warrant out for somebody else, go to the wrong house, and that house is yours, and they could treat you like this if you dared to question their authority. Listen to this.
19 investigates allegations of abuse by corrections officers at the Lorain County Jail.
Now, we've already reported several officers have been accused of mistreating inmates. Now, another officer has allegedly paralyzed a man. The FBI even opening its own investigation.
19 investigates Mike Mason exposing how this officer has close ties to the top official at the Lorain County Jail, a warning some of these images are difficult to see.
The case you mentioned involves a Lorain corrections officer accused of slamming a man into a wall, partially paralyzing him. Public records show the officer was reprimanded for mistreating that inmate, but allowed to keep his job. Tonight, the injured man describes his emotional ordeal while his attorney plans to file a federal lawsuit. Jeffrey.
This is another thing, before we play this is another thing that just shocks me to no end, and it continues to amaze me that these psychopaths in uniforms will continue to commit these crimes in broad daylight on camera. There's video evidence, and all they get sometimes is a reprimand. At other times, they get a paid vacation. Sometimes they'll lose their job. But most of the time, I'm not saying all the time because Amber Geiger went to jail, but look what her sentence was, 10 years. And she's eligible for parole this year for shooting and killing a man in his own living room on his own couch, eating ice cream while he's watching a movie. Rest in peace, Botham John. But most of the time, they never see jail time. And if they are fired, which is, for them, it's like, oh my God, I lost my job. I can't believe, why did I lose my job? I just committed a crime on camera. That's all I did. But if you and I did that, we would be done for. But they lose their jobs, and then they're hired on by some other police department in the next county over. It's sickening. It's sickening.
Fry says one quick move by a Lorain County corrections officer changed his life forever.
Just too much to do to someone for nothing.
When it was over, Fry says he was bound to a wheelchair, barely able to move. It happened in May of last year. Video obtained from the Lorain County Sheriff's Office shows corrections officer Brian Tellier escorting Fry, then apparently slamming him into a wall head first. What do you remember next?
What kind of a psychopathic coward do you have to be? The guy is in handcuffs. It looks like he doesn't even have shoes on, grabbing him from behind and just slamming his against this solid steel door.
Head first. What do you remember next?
I remember waking up back in the search area, put up against the wall, sitting.
Think about what the news crew is not saying. And it's blaringly obvious to every one of us. But I'm not going to tell you what I'm thinking. You let me know as you watch this video right here what the news crew didn't say in this story.
With my neck down.
Watch the video closely and you can see how the officer grabs Fry's left arm and slams him into the wall. Meanwhile, an Elyria police officer stands by watching it happen. Video then shows Tellier try to pull Fry up, but he appears limp and unconscious. When another officer rushes in, they lay Fry face first on the floor. He's then propped against the wall and eventually dragged inside with his feet dangling behind him.
Well, my hands and my arms were paralyzed, so they was just like Pinocchio with no strings.
You couldn't move them?
No, I couldn't move nothing except my neck and my mouth.
Fry is leaned against the wall until EMS arrives about 20 minutes later. Officers then toss Fry onto a cart. Video shows Tellier turning Fry onto his back and yanking him up. More than 30 minutes after being injured, Fry is finally taken.
Look, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Look how many people are in the room. Look how many cops are in the room. Look how many EMS care. What does this say on life care? They don't care about anybody's life. There's not one good cop on the scene putting a stop to it, putting their foot down and going, guys, this is the opposite of protecting and serving. We're wrecking this guy's life. We're ruining him. What are you guys doing? Nobody. We always hear about the good cops. Oh, it's just a few bad apples spoiling the whole bunch. Hey, I am not convinced that the entire bushel is not rotten, because I never see a good cop step forward and try to apprehend the true criminals. They don't do it. They don't care. They're part of it. And if you look at this one guy, as soon as the first bit of brutality happens, he just stands there like, no, happen again. Oh, well, who cares? The guy standing right here with the piece of paper in his hand, just looks around like, oh, well, yeah, that's what we do. That's what we do around here. That's our modus operandi. That's our mode of operations. That's how we handle people.
Video shows Tellier turning Fry onto his back and yanking him up. More than 30 minutes after being injured, Fry is finally taken to the hospital.
And you saw him get dragged like a rag doll and flipped around.
Attorney Nick DiCello represents Fry and plans to file a federal lawsuit against Tellier and the Lorain County Sheriff's Office.
Jeff's going to live with this for the rest of his life.
DiCello alleges that Tellier's actions left Fry paralyzed from the head down. The surgery to repair his broken neck has branded Fry with a long line of scars. Though he's regained much of his use, Fry says he'll always suffer lingering effects.
He's got neuropathic pain, which is consistent with people with spinal cord injury.
Yeah, I gotta keep my hands like this, because when I straighten them out, they hyperextend and they go like this.
In Tellier's use,
Before we get to this cop's frickin' written lie, they're not even talking about the psychological damage that happened to this guy. I'm sure he's got PTSD. Next time he sees a cop, he's going to freak out going, man, please, whatever you do, don't send me to jail. Don't put your hands on me. Please don't abuse me, whatever you do. Now listen to the lies.
it's a force report. He claimed that when Fry pulled away from him, he tried placing him against the wall. He says that's when Fry fell down due to his intoxication. Tellier's sergeant then approved the report, determining reasonable force was used. But records show when a lieutenant reviewed Tellier's report several days later, he discovered multiple inaccuracies. He determined Tellier hooked Fry's left arm and propelled him towards the wall in a takedown maneuver. He found Tellier mistreated a prisoner and falsified the report. As a result, Tellier was given a written reprimand and is now restricted from having contact with inmates. Court records show that 2 weeks later, the Lorain County prosecutor sent LCSO this subpoena demanding they submit all information about this incident to the FBI. Meanwhile, 19 Investigates has uncovered numerous cases where inmates allege they were also abused by corrections officers.
I do know there's a series of incidents that have occurred there that is troubling.
Last November, veteran officer Ruben Ortiz was fired after striking inmate Charles Koch more than a dozen times. Our investigation found Ortiz had been reprimanded several times in the past for mistreating inmates and falsifying reports. Ortiz is now facing criminal charges, and Koch's attorney plans to sue LCSO.
I believe it establishes a clear pattern of conduct, not just with this officer, but perhaps beyond that, and the disciplinary sanctions that go into, an incident like this.
Franklin.
In my opinion, every one of the cops and EMTs who were involved in witnessing this guy get brutalized, the last guy and this guy right here, every one of them, at the minimum, should receive jail time. Every one of them.
Ford's attorney also sued LCSO.
Their pensions should go toward funding this guy for the rest of his life. It should come out of the cops' pockets.
Last November, alleging officers beat him for no reason.
I think there's an issue at the Lorain County Sheriff's Office as we stand here today, and that's based upon the numerous complaints, the numerous incident reports. That's for sure.
In both cases, officers reported the force used was reasonable and necessary.
There's some serious matters going on at the jail right now that warrant full attention.
DiCello plans to file his lawsuit in the coming weeks. Meanwhile, the FBI is continuing its own investigation. We should tell you, the jail's director of corrections, James Gordon, is Tellier's father-in-law. Sheriff Phil Stamiti declined to be interviewed for our report, but in a written statement, he said his office investigates all complaints equally, whether they're filed against officers or inmates.
Don't worry, the corrupt FBI is going to investigate this corruption. So what's the answer here? Do psychopaths become cops, or do cops become psychopaths? Does power corrupt and absolute power corrupt absolutely, or does power attract the corruptible? Which one is it? Or is it a combination of both? Before I end this video, just remember this can happen to you and me at any time. When you have power-drunk authoritarians out there, they will do whatever they have to do to exercise and exert their power. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to this channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know. Don't forget to subscribe to my email list through my website, highimpactflix.com. If you want to support the channel further, the links are in the description. Grab a shirt, become a channel member, but whatever you do, stand for your rights, exercise your rights. If you don't use your rights, you will lose your rights. And when freedom is gone, it is all over. I will see you in the next video.